And yet, the innate desire of the people of Pakistan for a democratic, federal parliamentary state rekindled. They rose from the ashes under the dynamic leadership of Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and succeeded in achieving the first ever consensus constitution in less than 2 years. 10th of April, 1973 saw the entire spectrum of our national leadership unanimously penning a constitution which was not a decision of an individual, but a joint resolve of a united federal nation. April 10, 1973 is the culmination of our nation's journey from a dictatorial to a democratic, we the people. April 10, 1973, therefore, is the most bright, shining, and historic moment of our national history after 14th August 1947. I seek a moment from all of you to pay our joint homage to that entire 146-member National Assembly of 1973, that historic 26-member Constitution Drafting Committee, and indeed the entire leadership of those troubled times who rose above all interest and gave the nation a united identity as free and equal citizens of an Islamic, democratic, federal state.
पुलिस लाइन हेडक्वार्टर में इमरान खान के खिलाफ अलकादर ट्रस्ट केस की समाअत। इमरान खान को नैब रावलपिंडी से पुलिस लाइन हेडक्वार्टर मुंतकिल कर दिया गया। जिला इंतजामिया ने हिफाजती नुक्ता नज़र से न्यू पुलिस लाइन गेस्ट हाउस को अदालत का दर्जा दे दिया। इमरान खान को अलकादर ट्रस्ट केस में रिमांड के लिए पेश किया जाएगा। इमरान खान पर तोशाखाना केस में फर्द जुर्म भी आयद होगी। कौमी एहतसाब ब्यूरो ने इमरान खान को अलकादर ट्रस्ट केस में गिरफ्तार कर लिया। इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट ने गिरफ्तारी कानूनी करार दे दी। इमरान खान नैब की जानिब से तलबी नोटिस का खातिर खा जवाब देने में नाकाम रहे। गिरफ्तारी नैब ऑर्डिनेंस और कानून के मुताबिक की गई। नैब एलामिया। इमरान खान की पेशी के मौके पर सख्त सिक्योरिटी के इंतजामात। अदालत के अहाते में दाखिला सिर्फ अदालत की जानिब से मजाज अफराद को दिया जाएगा। सरकारी और निजी अमलाक को नुकसान पहुंचाने वाले अफराद के खिलाफ सख्त कार्रवाई अमल में लाई जाएगी। कानून शिकन शरपसंद अनासर के खिलाफ कानून हरकत में आएगा। तर्जुमान इस्लामाबाद कैपिटल पुलिस।
And the founder of the Constitution, Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, was sent to gallows in 1979. Long and dark nights of dictatorship were forced upon us, where either the Constitution was kept in abeyance or tempered to lose its soul and spirit. But what the forces of darkness forgot was the vision and clarity that 1973 Constitution had already given to the people. On the eve of the unanimous passage of this Constitution, Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had said, and I quote, "This Constitution now belongs to the people. They are the owners and they will defend it." His words proved prophetic, as despite all their mutual political and ideological differences, the people of Pakistan continued their joint struggle for reviving this agreed document. From the days of movement of restoration of democracy of the 80s to the Alliance of Restoration of Democracy, ARD, of 2000, the political parties, civil society, media, labor, women, minorities and youth joined hands with one voice, restore 1973 Constitution and purge it from the infringement of dictators. While Shahid Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto, the first woman Prime Minister of the Muslim world, laid her life in Rawalpindi for this ideal, thrice Prime Minister Muhammad Sharif was forced into successive exiles. The joint voices of the people, however, could not be silenced. President Asif Ali Zardari and indeed the leadership of all truly democratic political parties were thrown behind bars. And yet we courageously cried, LFO, Na Manzoor, down with dictatorship. The dictator was once again defeated. Destiny smiled. Again, an 18th Amendment was brought to the book in 2010. The Constitution was not only restored to the previous glory, but further improved to fulfill the promise of complete provincial autonomy as envisioned by the Qaid-e-Azam and as promised in 1973. Ladies and gentlemen, April 10, 1973 to 210, and now to the year 2023. We have come a long way, and yet our journey for a truly Islamic, democratic, federal Pakistan is not over. The guarantee of 26 fundamental rights as promised by the Constitution still seeks the light of the day. The pledge of Article 3, binding the state for the gradual elimination of all forms of exploitation to the universal principle, each according to his ability, to each according to his work, remains largely unfulfilled. The assurance of Article 25, calling no discrimination on the basis of sex, desires to be fully delivered, while the guarantee of 25A, assuring every child compulsory education, awaits our meaningful actions. We have to cover this distance between the promise and our performance. This distance will remain expanding if the democratic leaderships are kept hostage to palace intrigues and midnight assaults. While the narrow populist nationalism drags society to a fascist interpretation of democracy, the institutions are still struggling to imbibe the true spirit of the Constitution as enshrined in its very preamble. Sovereignty belongs to Almighty Allah, and authority to be exercised by the people of Pakistan through their chosen representative. This august House, ladies and gentlemen, is the nucleus of power. It is the author of the Constitution. It is the sole legislative organ. The people's will stems from here, and all institutions must be answerable to this sovereign and supreme body of the people. This is the crux of our Constitution, and this is our only way to an all-inclusive, mutually respecting, diverse, and dialogue-based Pakistan. My Shahid leader, Benazir Bhutto, used to say, democracy is not a product, it is a continued process. She would often quote Goethe, freedom must be reinvented in every generation. And she would teach us that constitutional democracy is not all about changing a regime through ballot, but creating and strengthening the very building blocks of democracy, namely a vibrant civil society, a free impartial media, a meaningful women's participation, inclusion of diverse voices without the discrimination of class, color, creed, race, and religion, a transparent election system, and an impartial and universally respected judiciary. These are the very building blocks that 1973 Constitution promised. And these are the very building blocks that as representatives of the people, we must strive to create in order to make Pakistan the ideal Islamic federal parliamentary democracy. This is what the Qaid dreamed. This is what the framers of the 73 Constitution aspired for, and hence, this should be our legacy to the future generation of our nation. As I conclude, I once again thank you all, especially our foreign delegates, and wish them a joyous stay in Pakistan. I thank you all. Pakistan, Paindabad.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for your enlightening address. Ladies and gentlemen, with the address of the Honorable Speaker, the convention stands open. We shall now have a group photo, which will be followed by tea. After tea, we will break out for the session's discussion. The session on federalism and devolution of power will take place in this very hall after tea, while the session on constitution and representation will take place in committee room number 2 on floor number 1. And the third breakout session on climate justice will take place in committee room number 5, which is situated on this very floor. The ushers, who can be distinguished by their uniform, white shalwar kameez and a green dupatta for girls.
پارلیمنٹ ہاؤس میں آئین کی گولڈن جوبلی کی مناسبت سے 2 روزہ بین الاقوامی کنونشن اس وقت جاری ہے۔ کنونشن میں آئین سازی اور پارلیمان کے کردار کے حوالے سے بات کی جائے گی اور کنونشن میں 17 سے زائد ممالک کے پارلیمانی وفود نے شرکت بھی کی ہے۔ سعودی عرب، ایران، آذربائیجان، شام، بیلجیم کے اسپیکر، ڈپٹی اسپیکر اور چیئرمین شریک ہیں۔ کینیا، سری لنکا، لبنان، عمان، تاجکستان اور کرغزستان کے پارلیمانی وفود نے بھی شرکت کی ہے۔ اور یہ تھی پی ٹی وی تازہ ترین۔